Good morning, good morning again, everyone. Welcome to today's second front load and another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read the article and share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC actually sees through with their threat. Also included in there, the Ozarks' first article in regards to Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation, a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has impending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and folks, that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens and trying and failing to defund public libraries to actually do his job. You got a governor off his nuts, so send help. Read that article. Share it on all your social media. Also included, as always, all the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including the link to this interview of 4 moms that we are going over right now. Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present, self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please use your headphones, alright? Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is advised. Trigger warning, if you suffer from PTSD or are otherwise neurodivergent or have experienced trauma in your life, while we are going through these life events from these 4 moms in regards to these 4 kids, I'm going to be delving into some of my own past. You're going to hear mentions of abuse, sexual abuse, bullying, the list goes on. So just be prepared for that, okay? Alright. So we're going into Heidi now. And we're going into the table. Before we do, I want to mention one of the problems that's still prevalent when it comes to treatment. This culmination that so many people do where they just list the behaviors like I would list the color of M&Ms. It's, again, this primary focus on the behaviors that's the problem. You will jump from program to program or from school to school when all you do is list behaviors and nobody's delving into the why. Until you delve into the why and start treating it accordingly, whether therapy is needed or medication may be needed. Yes, medication, folks. It's not the boogeyman. Assistive devices, reasonable accommodations, then wouldn't you know it? Speaking from experience here, folks, not just as a professional who's worked in the field, but as someone who's lived it, wouldn't you know it, you can bring these down to a bare minimum base level. But let's go in here, shall we? Difficulty getting along with peers, 3rd grade. Okay, this takes me back because I remember in particular one of my teachers complained to my mom that I had no friends in my age group and that I'd just go off to read or hang around the teachers. So she had my mom take me to therapy. Well, the therapist did what nobody else would do and asked me, well, why weren't you hanging around the kids your own age? I'm like, because the kids hate me. I was relentlessly bullied without mercy by my other 3rd grade peers. It would make complete logical sense then that I wasn't going to pursue friendships with people who've treated me so cruelly. That, matter of fact, in order to get away from the bullying, that I would rather hide and go read where they can't find me to continue to bully me. When I say that the therapist never saw me again after that, and when he explained that I wasn't the problem here, the way my mom had a conversation with that teacher. You see, not all things have to do to our issues with being social. Some of those things have to do with neurodivergence are targets for bullying from day one, whether it is known at the time we are neurodivergent or not. Kids notice when something is off with someone. Kids aren't known, as they're not adults, to find out why that is. But they do know from watching adult peers to bully the person who's different. If you see a whole classroom jeering at a particular student and then ask yourself why they aren't making friends, I don't know what to tell you, but maybe teaching should not be your profession. Displayed sexual behavior, 5th grade. So let me put it bluntly to you folks. We don't do that out of nowhere. Did nobody ask if this particular person had been assaulted in the past? Yeah, I'm guessing probably not. Am I excusing any type of sexual assault against anyone? No, I'm not. Not at all. But certain things are learned behavior. Okay? Some things, even though I may have a disability, might have absolutely zero to do with my disability. So again, simply writing it off as another behavior filed under neurodivergent, you can see why that does nothing, right? Why did nobody delve deeper? Because that's the age you should be delving deeper. Because if you just write it off as a behavior and punish them for it without dealing with what was triggering that, then you perpetuate that particular type of behavior being perpetuated on someone else. Part of the reason I was able to eventually forgive my stepbrother for the things that he did to me was I began to uncover as I got older what happened with him when he was a young kid. Okay? It was learned behavior. You want to stop the perpetuation of sexual abuse amongst young kids? That's how you do it. Okay? You want the buck to stop? Start delving into where these behaviors are coming from. Because as long as you don't, and this continues to go untreated, it's only going to escalate and get worse. Let's move on. Uncooperative around peers. Here we go again. I was also uncooperative around my peers because my peers hated me. Matter of fact, fifth grade was one of my most infamous incidents inside a public school. This was another episode of all the kids around me singing at and jeering at me the minute the teacher left the classroom. I snapped. And it was one of those old school desks, the kind that had the front and the back melded together. It was all solid iron. I picked up my desk, threw it against the wall, which made everybody stop. Turned around, screamed to bite me at the very top of my lungs, and left the room. Another teacher came out into the hallway, pulled me aside, and took her into my class. And I have a feeling she had to tell my teacher, I have a feeling she told that teacher off. Because I stayed in that classroom for the rest of the day. When I came back the next day, I had a white t-shirt that was signed in red marker by all the students telling me how great a person I was. Yeah. Not everything has to do with our disability, folks. Some of these things they want to tack on to autism. Autism may play a part. ADHD may play a part. But a lot of times, some of the stuff that they list, bullying plays a far larger part. Okay, plotting along with others to inflict serious harm on another student, 7th grade. Threatened to run away from resident settings, ran away from some placements, planned to break into a store, early adolescence. Demonization, demonization, demonization. How can I explain all of this away? This is obviously criminal behavior, Tiff. They're out of control. Are they? Are they? Let's think about this. You deprive a child of friendship and camaraderie. You bully and bully and bully and bully. And then finally, after all the years, a group seems to at least accept you. If you think there aren't people who are looking around for us to take advantage, I got beachfront, oceanfront property in Kansas I can sell you. And what is some of the dumb things we'll do to hold on to that only peer group who's shown us even a shred of friendship? I don't say I like it, but not everyone was like me. See, I had been driven to such a stage of paranoia and distrust of every single person around me that the unsavory types that even tried to include me in anything, I didn't trust enough to get involved with. I guess the silver lining and all that crap I went through, right? The one silver lining. But not all of us were like me. Not all of us ended up with that extreme paranoia. Instead, that extreme desire to trust takes over. And that panic at losing the only type of friendship you've ever known also takes over. It's the idea of peer pressure turned to 11. Okay? Many of us who are neurodivergent have extreme abandonment issues. I'm not one of those, but a lot of us do. Okay? Again, we got to take things into context. Just painting us as completely out of control, degenerate monsters in the making doesn't help things. In fact, it makes us think, particularly in late teen years, why should we try? We're already painted as monsters anyways. Violent threats against staff, attacked peers, self-injurious behavior, cutting. So you see what they're doing with Miss Heidi here, right? They're painting it as bleak as humanly possible with once again not delving into the why. Where is this coming from? What is triggering this? Right? It's all a list of behaviors and nothing more. Matter of fact, it's the same type of listing that the JRC does to justify the torture of disabled kids. Not to mention the bad traits of a public school that will sit there and just allow things to continue to get worse before they actually do anything. Know what I'm saying? With that particular one here, displayed sexual behavior manifested. It should have stopped there. That should have been when the psychological help was sought. It shouldn't have been when the school tried to solve every single problem. That's when the psychological help should have been sought. Okay? But nothing was done, was it? And if you think about that, sexual behavior is learned. And you read next, uncooperative around peers. And nothing was done. You know? Things to think on. Instead of writing them off as behaviors that have to be stomped out, we've got to start delving into the why. And you got to start doing it the minute these things start making themselves known and manifesting. Because if you don't, as you read through here with me, it's going to escalate. Particularly when neurodivergents are targeted by their peers, and very cruelly, I might add. We're going to close on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. We do appreciate your time. As always, we hope you have a good one. But before we leave, I want to make something quite clear. I am not justifying the things that Heidi did. I'm not trying to brush away the fact that she was displaying that type of behavior. What I'm trying to get you to understand is we got to start looking at the why instead of just punishing the behavior. Because as long as you don't delve into why and what's going on, it will escalate. And the behavior will get worse. I'm not justifying anything. I'm telling you point blank, as someone who's worked in this field, as someone who is a survivor. Okay? Alright, hope you have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.